On this episode of Rock School Proprietor Podcast, we're talking with studio owner, instructor, YouTuber, and author Rob Spampinato of Rob's School of Music. Rob shares how he's built his hybrid business around his brick and mortar studio and his online offerings, how he's grown his YouTube following to nearly 150,000 followers, and how he finds balance in all of it. Welcome to Rock School Proprietor Podcast. I'm John Kozicki.
And I'm Mandy York.
And Mandy, we've got another guest with us today, Rob Spampinato. Rob, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Absolutely, dude. I was waiting for it to be wrong and you nailed it. Thank you.
All right. Well, Rob Spampinato, Rob's School of Music. We're going to get pretty deep into Rob's School of Music, his YouTube channel, his online courses. You're an author. You've got a book, so much going on. But Rob, I guess real quick, if you could sort of, because it's going to take a while to unpackage all of this, but maybe explain a little bit about Rob's School of Music, your brick and mortar, like when you opened, maybe a little bit about philosophy, if you can.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. Rob School of Music started in 2017. I was renting space inside of a local music store that I had bought all my guitars at as a kid. So that in itself was like a dream come true. And then about a year into that, they were closing that location and I thought my world was over. And driving from that location to my house, I passed a vacant store and I said, hey, maybe that will work. And in 2018, I opened up this version of Rob School of Music in Suffern. We have about 150 students or so, which is close to our capacity. It's not a huge space, but we do lessons in most major instruments. And our philosophy is really, we want to get to the why. There's no curriculum. There is no book that everyone gets. We really try and understand how each student's going to learn, why they want to learn, and build the curriculum based on that to manage their expectations and have them succeed.
That is perfect. That's right in our wheelhouse. I mean, Mandy and I talk a lot about why, and kind of getting to that is really the origin of what keeps people fired up to play. So question, so you said you started Rob School of Music inside a music store. Mm-hmm. Did they have a lesson program there, or were you the lesson program, or I guess, or did you go in there teaching thinking I am going to dominate the world, or what was that?
No, it was almost a fluke. There was an existing lesson program there run by another guy, and his Saturday and Sunday morning guy couldn't do it any longer. And he reached out to me because at the time I was a full-time musician playing 3 to 5 nights a week, doing cover stuff, studio stuff, church stuff, whatever I could get my hands on. And I was like, oh, well, I don't do anything Saturday and Sunday mornings usually. So I did that for 2 months under the other guy. And he's like, I was just testing you. I don't want to do this anymore. Would you like to take over the business? And I kind of took on his roster and we, financial agreement there. And then, it became Rob School of Music within 2 months of that happening. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of an interesting new take on how people get into this world a little bit. I mean, because it seems like oftentimes, I mean, me as well. I mean, it started in teaching in music stores and things like that, and then sort of ventured out onto my own. You sort of worked the system in a different way, which I love. So aside from Rob's School of Music, Rob, you've got a pretty big YouTube channel. You've got online courses, correct?
Yes.
You've written a book.
Yes.
So there it is. This book, Shreds, is what it's called. I guess a couple of questions. How do you sort of combine all of those things into one brand, or do you even bother to combine all of those things into one brand? Or how did those other aspects of what you do come from Rob's School of Music?
That's a question that I struggle with constantly because they are so different, but somehow they manage to feed off of each other. The YouTube channel, I had a YouTube channel on and off for years. And then when everything went funky in 2020, I threw my attention into it to try to build a place where my students could come and look at things, because we had incredible community within our school. And all of a sudden that was gone. We were fully virtual, so I started doing these interviews. I reached out to every musician I knew. And then the first one was someone who played with Vertical Horizon. And then I parlayed that interview with someone from Periphery and so on and so forth, all the way up to Steve Vai and Nita Strauss and these incredible, my heroes. But that existed as its own thing. And then there's lessons and other stuff on there. I don't know if the YouTube channel feeds the brick and mortar Rob School of Music, but it's, this thing makes me way more of a rock star than any of the accolades to the 9 to 16-year-old student. So it's a cool, wow, Rob does this. The book, that does feed the students a bit because it's, again, it builds credibility, but also it gives them something to flesh out my story. A lot of times when a student starts out, I'll just give them one of the books and say, here, have a look at this. And even if they open it randomly, they're going to find something that's going to kind of tell them a little bit about what I'm about, a little bit about what my philosophy is about. And then that gives them interest as well. And then the course, that's just all of it. They all kind of feed that. But I think largely the brick and mortar thing exists on its own. And those are just sort of like sprinkles on top of the ice cream sundae.
Okay. So just I wanted to kind of get an idea of, I guess, numbers. I think it's important to mention numbers, because I've got a YouTube channel for Michigan Rock School and we don't do much with it. Mandy, do you have a YouTube channel for Music Time of Milford?
No, I did during COVID when we were virtual, but that's all I used it for. It's dormant now.
So, Rob, I think when I checked last week, 144,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel. That seems to me to be pretty significant when you look at most YouTube channels have, like mine, maybe 100 subscribers. Instagram, you've got 32,000 followers on Instagram, and then Facebook, 900. So I've got the edge on you on that one at least. But so Instagram, 32,000 followers, that seems pretty big too. So it's almost like with the YouTube and Instagram, how do you, again, you're running a brick and mortar, an Instagram page and a YouTube channel with those types of numbers, you have to spend significant time to manage those. Yeah.
Yes. Those each exist almost as their own full-time job. And it's something that I do struggle with because it doesn't feed the school, but it feeds the courses, it feeds the book sales. It feeds this larger entity that I'm sort of trying to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
I have a team of people that thankfully can help me manage the school day to day. So I have the freedom to create constantly. I do sort of bleed them together though. So there'll be today I posted something, I focus on the content creation, trying to find ways to blur the lines, but not always clear to me which one's going to connect. For example, I put a video of a student recently and a bunch of local people reached out because of it. I put a video of a student last week. No one cares locally, but it drives stuff to the book. I've sold books through that. I've sold courses through that. So it's multiple heads all on my shoulders, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting because for me and Mandy, I don't know how, what you focus on with at your studio, but with my studio, I try and draw I try and separate myself personally from what I am promoting about the school. When I'm promoting the school, it's like kids, students, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to highlight the outcome of what the kids are getting from coming to Michigan Rock School. So because of that, and even sometimes the parents will request, well, when are your instructors playing? Where are they playing? Where can we go see them? Can't you just share that stuff out? I'm always reluctant to do that because I want the spotlight to be on the student. But you seem to have, again, as you said, you're blurring those lines. From my perspective, you, Rob, are very much, your personality is the brand. That's, yeah. Well, and you've got a big personality. So I think that's it, it works. But is that a conscious thing, I guess?
It was an accident. So quick backstory. In 2008, I opened a restaurant with my father. And that restaurant was part of our last name. And I felt tremendous pride in being the guy who was doing the restaurant. Like I quit music for a couple of years to focus on the restaurant business. And the economy went kind of wonky in 2009, 2010 with the housing market and stuff. So we wound up having to sell that business. And I learned in that moment, don't take your foot off the gas. So that was in the back of my mind. Don't focus. When I started doing this, just Rob School of Music, that's what it'll be. It could have been 1,000 other things. I sometimes I wish it was Elite Music Academy or something else, but because my name is the name, I felt like I had to be the face, the Mickey Mouse, the spokesperson, the thing. And then from my band days, like I was the front guy, so I was kind of used to being at the front of the stage, sort of. My personality is a similar personality to everyone around me. I'm very conscious of that with all of my instructors here. So even if you do come here and wound up with someone other than me, it feels like me in a weird way, but I'm definitely the face out in front of it. I struggle with that sometimes though, because it's not the most scalable thing, but yeah.
Well, so we've talked about, Mandy and I have talked about hiring, and one of the things I mentioned in our conversation with hiring, actually, I don't know if this episode has aired yet, but one of the things I mentioned about hiring is I'll often ask myself, is this person someone I would want to be in a band with?
Yes.
And I know, Mandy, you look for personality characteristics that are reflective of what you're trying to do in your studio too, correct?
Right. Absolutely.
So I don't think I don't think it's bad. It's just like in your situation, Rob, it seems like it's just way more upfront, right? Yeah. So like, yes, you want to find, as Seth Godin would say, like people like us do things like this, right? So you want to find those people who are like you so you can do the things that you like to do. It makes perfect sense. It's all like, again, to me, it's all very interesting because it's contrary to what I do with my studio, but it seems to totally work for you. So on the topic of culture, you with your brick and mortar and say like your YouTube community or your courses, that in-person culture seems to me easier to nurture because it's in person, right? How do you implement your philosophy and nurture that into your online culture? Or, are you able to? Because that seems challenging to me.
It is. And there's a lot of trolls and things out there on the internet. So sometimes someone responding to a video doesn't have the purest of intentions with their question or their critique. I answer it in the truest form of myself. I know that there's a digital paper trail of every interaction and every moment online that exists. So I just stay authentic throughout all of it. To that point, I've had people in January of this year, I was out in Anaheim for the NAMM show, and a couple people came up to me and like, "Oh, you're Rob for YouTube, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, holy crap, this is insane. But instantly, like it felt like they were a student at the school because they had seen the personality that I'm putting out there and whatever interactions we had virtually or, in messages or emails or whatever circumstance we had communicated or not communicated. It just seems that it bleeds through, again, using that phrase, into all of it somehow. I think it's the consistency. I think I'm me all the time, for better or worse. And that becomes clear. I am aware that it is definitely the opposite of how most people run music school businesses. And I do feel like an anomaly. And I'm constantly aware of, okay, well, if I recommend everyone goes to this guy's gig this weekend and I'm pushing that as building our, authenticity, we live the life, we do this. Is this going to represent us? Is his music going to be too far out there for someone to understand? Or is this gig going to be at a club that maybe I shouldn't be sending, the family of 5 to? But largely it just works. I think it's the culture from the core and it just kind of grows from there. It's
got to be a lot of pressure though, too.
Yes.
Because I'm kind of with John where I do have more of that separation. I represent music time, the studio when I'm online, not Mandy.
Yes.
But a lot of my families and the kids refer to my classes in the studio as Miss Mandy classes. This is Miss Mandy music. This is Miss Mandy's studio, So I'm definitely the face of it all because for a long time I was the only teacher and because I do teach the bulk of the classes there. And I find myself resisting it a little bit because I don't, that's a lot of pressure to
It is.
just be me, just be Mandy. I mean, it's from everything I've seen and you're so successful and it's really exciting what you're doing. But yeah, you're teaching in person, correct? You
Mhm.
do. Okay. And then you do all these courses. And I mean, what a brand you've built. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For the in-person, I have scaled down my part of the teaching considerably.
Okay.
I personally have 12 students I'm currently working with weekly. I run the band programs. That's where I've put a lot of my in-person energy. And that's where I'm really finding a ton of fun. Because I was a band guy. I've been in band since I'm 13 years old. My best friends are my bandmates years later. One of them married my cousin, so he's family now. Like it's this life in music. So I'm working with these young musicians and helping them learn, the rules of the band. Don't play when someone's talking, learn your material, blah, blah, blah. Don't be a jerk. Like putting that out there to the next generation. I love that. That's my favorite part right now.
Rob, you answered the question that I was going to ask, which was about how much time you are teaching. And that's something that I did myself a few years back, is cut back on the private lessons. I'm still a little bit more involved in the band program. But with your band program, I mean, I'd like to kind of get into this a little bit because that's my area of, I hate to use the word expertise, but that's like, my wheelhouse. With your band program, like, how do you run that at Rob School of Music? Is it like an optional program? Is it kind of do you segment the students into their own personal bands? Do you kind of do the ensemble thing? What's the format there?
So it's an add-on to our lessons. Our regular program is weekly half-hour lessons, once per week, monthly. And then the band is an add-on, which is an upcharge for us. And we it's not open to everyone. We don't hold auditions per se, but we definitely are very selective of who's going to be part of it because we don't do ensembles. Every band is a personal band. There's 2 guitar players, there's a keyboard, there's 1 or 2 vocalists, there's a drummer, there's a bass player. I don't follow the model where there's 10 drummers and 17 guitar players, which I understand there's a ton of money there that I'm probably leaving on the floor, but I want them to feel like it's their band. It's their gang of people that they can, take over the world with. And then those are hour-long classes, again, once a week. And the way our school is structured, we have a stage in the front, which used to be our waiting room. But over the pandemic, we converted that into a stage area because it was the largest space in the building. And there was no one coming inside for, 15 months or something. So I was like, oh, what can I do with this as I'm here bored alone every day? So we built a stage out there, which is there's a bunch of windows. So as people walking by, every day of the week, there's a band on there that they can watch. And I have some stage lights and stuff. I mean, it's not a giant stage, but it's something that looks cool. So as you walk to your lesson, a lot of time you're passing a band. And if the band is particularly loud, I have the stage is set up with headphone monitors. So we can go, all the amps are digital, the drums are electronic. So we can go full noiseless. All you hear is the vocalist if it's obtrusive to other lessons. And in essence, that just sounds like a voice lesson to everyone else.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So I run my band program in a similar manner where it's not the huge ensemble. It's, we treat the groups as their own bands. So I'm a fan of that as well. How much time are you, like, if you could put a ratio to it, like how much time are you spending at your brick and mortar? How much time are you spending on, working on your YouTube videos or nurturing your YouTube and Instagram and courses? Like, are you able to sort of put a ratio on that maybe?
In real time, I'll try and figure it out with you. So I'm here from about 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday. I leave earlier on Fridays. Saturday, I'm just here in the morning. I'm not here on Sunday. While I'm here, prior to 4 p.m., 60% of the time is spent on growing the digital assets. I film all my YouTube videos back there. I have the fancy light. I have those set up. And then from 4 o'clock onward, while the actual lessons are occurring, even though I might not be teaching them, in my mind, well, that's Rob School of Music time. So that's when I would focus on the marketing and any admin stuff I need to do. And I have 2 other people that assist with that also.
Wow. Yeah, you are a hustler. And you're like,
there's big bags under my eyes, man. I'm not sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, again, from your personality, I almost didn't expect anything less, but that's great. So one thing that we haven't really covered much is your book.
Mm-hmm.
It's called This Book Shreds. Well, I mean, I've thought about writing books, but like, it's, again, finding the time. Like, tell me what the origin was of you writing the book and how you did find the time.
It was my pandemic project.
Mm-hmm.
While we had the luxury, and I say this as the most cryptic way possible, but when all of that started happening before the whole world shut down, one of the first unalivings occurred in our town before the whole world knew that was going on. So we were able to close down our business about 10 days before the world shut down and transition the whole school virtual. And we didn't change anyone's time slots. If you had Mondays at 4, your lessons were Mondays at 4. We tried to keep that normalcy, and it provided me a ton of time because now there wasn't any of the schmoozing and the talking. I was teaching a lot more back then also myself. So I had a lot of time, and to keep myself sane, even though the world was shut down, I came here every day. I turned one of the lesson rooms into my gym, and the other room was my video studio, and the other one was like my Zen meditation room. It was very like, okay, I'm going to survive this. And in that Zen meditation space, I started thinking, oh, well, maybe I could put something together. And the crazy irony of it is a lot of the ideas that happened, the YouTube channel, the book, I was on an airplane going to NAMM in 2020, January, before everything. And I had a journal, and I was like making my plan for the year. And like the skeleton of those two ideas, I wrote down as goals of that year. And then because of what happened, they were sort of forced into fruition. I'm not sure they would have happened. So the book, I put together the basic outline, and then I worked with a writing coach to help me clean up any of my grammatical errors and such. And basically it's 30% like goofy stories from being a silly wannabe rock star, and 20% music education. The remaining 50% is like self-help. It's really focused on the you can do it element, which I think a lot of people wouldn't expect. It's certainly not a theory book or anything like that. It's definitely a life skill book, because I think music is a life skill.
The pandemic always seems to come up in our interviews with people, but I think the common thread is for those of us who are running our own businesses, for those of us who realized quickly no one's going to come here and save the music schools.
Yeah.
No one's going to provide rules for music schools on what you can do and what you cannot do. No one's going to tell you like your student has to be this far away and you have to have this type of protection. For those of us who realized that, I think we said, if we are going to save our businesses, we have to just jump right in there and do it. And it sounds like that was sort of your mentality as well, mm-hmm. Right? And Mandy, I know like you were in that same boat. I was in that same boat, and chances are pretty good those of us who are still here in this business kind of had that same thought process and like took the reins and decided, all right, time to use this time for something good rather than worry and wonder what's going to happen when it's all over.
There was no time wasted. It was kind of like a switch. This is what's happening. Mm-hmm. We got to figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess, Rob, you've done, like with all of these things that you do with the YouTube channel, with the brick and mortar, with the courses, the book, what advice would you give to other music school owners or instructors who really want to diversify or feel like, hey, I should diversify. I think that's a good idea. What advice would you have for them?
Just do it. I know it sounds so simple, but like going back to that story with the restaurant, like I took my foot off the gas. I was 25 years old and I was like, I own a restaurant. I'm so cool. I'm going to drink wine all day. And I didn't realize the world was crumbling around me. And that taught me to always keep going. I have 7 pots boiling on the stove at all times. And when one of them cooks the food, that's the one I use, or whatever analogy. I throw it all to the wall, whatever sticks. Just consistency and doing it. Like the YouTube stuff, post every day. Like post, if it, get the okay from the parents, just post students, or if you want to be the face of it. And I understand that like being the face of it is certainly not for everyone. I think being the front guy in a band is where I learned to be this person in real life outside of this thing. To go back to the it being a lot of pressure, I'm shy as could be in real life. Like if I have to go order a coffee, I mumble and get super duper weird. But somehow in this ecosystem, I can just be the best version of me. And I think it's from just doing it. So yeah, just do it. I know it sounds simple, but yeah, go for it.
Are you at all worried about, you said you've got seven pots on the stove and the foot on the gas. Are you at all worried, maybe I shouldn't plant this seed, about, burnout or just like getting tired?
I have good work-life balance. For certain seasons in my life, I didn't. I'll sleep when I'm dead. But no, that's not sustainable. This beard didn't used to be so white. I know that. Sundays, I take for myself. I do things with my son. When I'm not on, I won't go out to eat locally. I'll go out to eat, I live 30 minutes from where my school is. So there's anonymity, not like I'm some big rock star, but I mean, like, I don't have to be Rob from Rob School of Music all the time. So I definitely, my personal time, traveling, just turning off, I think is how I can maintain it. When I'm on, I'm on. When I'm off, basically.
Nice.
I think that's really good advice. Yeah. That's something I feel like I'm learning lately because I am trying to find balance as I enjoy teaching so much. And that something lately that I've learned is like, just put it away. Like keep all those pots boiling all day long and do all of those things. But then, yeah, when you're off, you're off. I think
actually,
that's great
Mandy,
advice.
Mandy, you mentioned something that I think would be like one more thing to cover, because I know, Mandy, you love the teaching aspect of your business.
Yeah.
I also love teaching, but I realized I can't be as effective in like what I want to do with the big picture of the studio and my business if I am teaching as much as I am. And Rob, it sounds like you've kind of been in that realm as well.
Yeah.
When do you know, or how do you find that balance? Like when do you know to say, okay, I need to step back from as much teaching as possible when you do love it so much? It's hard to say no to the teaching. Like yesterday, I had an instructor who was going to be late, and he had a band rehearsal to conduct, and I was like, all right, well, I'll jump in and do it. I love doing this, but I know I can't do that all the time. That's the stuff that prevents me from working on these big picture things. Rob, you're sort of kind of in the middle of that right now. You're still doing bands. You're still teaching a little bit. Do you find it hard to say no to teaching?
Yes, I do. I love this so much. Like the light switches in my school are in the back. I have to walk to the back, turn them off, and walk through everything to leave. And every day as I flip the lights off and walk the hallway to the front, I am bombarded with gratitude for all of this. This is the coolest life in the world. And I feel so blessed and lucky to have it because I'm truly passionate about all of it. And like those bands, like I don't want to not do it because I love it. And I love the interactions I'm having and the inspiration and just watching these bands grow. But I do know there's a finite amount of hours. So we're at the point now where I could probably take on one more, but I want to do 3 more and I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else is going to have to. In terms of knowing when it's time to stop something, nearly abusive levels of self-awareness. my brain says it's time now. You need a nap. So it's a struggle. It's definitely not a straight line and it's a moving target, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
I think it's always evolving, right? And like I'm 10 years in and I was like, grow, bigger, right? And then lately I'm trying to really find true balance. And I see over 200 kids every week. Can that be good? Can that just be good enough?
Right.
Like I kind of say that, like, let's just be happy with this right now. Take a breather. I won't be able to sit still very long, and then I'll want to keep going again. But yeah, kind of figuring out where you want to be, what kind of balance feels good for you, and focusing your efforts where you really like them. From what you're telling me, it sounds like you create mostly all of your content. You said you got a couple people that help you, but
that's like the editing and stuff, but like the thoughts and the filming, that's all me.
Yeah. And like, I wish I had more time to do that. There's so much that I want to put out on our social media channels, right? And because whether I admit it or not, yes, I am the face of this studio, and I have the ideas and the thoughts that I want to put out, but I'm teaching a lot, so I do the best I can, and I've got somebody to help me, and you do your best in like giving them the brain dump and teaching them your philosophy, and so that they can carry on, fill in the blanks for you.
A huge part of it you just said there too, like doing the best we can. Like there was definitely parts of my life where I'd be very hard on myself. Well, just one more hour, you can do it. And like, I think part of the piece in all of it is finding when it's okay to say something is enough and be forgiving to yourself and show yourself that grace that you're only one person and there are only so many hours and we have families and kids and all these different things. And it's, that helps me bring more peace to the balance of all of it, because I definitely in the past could have been more able to disregard those emotions. And no, they're important emotions to have.
It's hard to say. And like Mandy, when you said you're teaching 200 kids every week, isn't that enough? I think it's also very hard to say no when more kids want to want to learn music. It's hard to say no to that if you're at capacity, or if like you just don't have room in the schedule. It's hard to say no when the passion for what we do is always there. It's always present, right? So on that, I mean, I think the theme is kind of finding that balance, right? Like Rob, that's what you said. Like, yeah, you do have a family. You've got like these other things. I often try and tell myself, like, because I'll walk through my studio and hear my instructors giving a lesson or coaching a band. And with the bands more frequently is I'll hear how the band's playing and I'll say, oh man, if the band coach would just tell them to do this, that would solve the problem, right? But I can't jump in there every time, so I'm always also trying to tell myself, like, yeah, it might not be exactly how I would do it, but it's going to work out. It's good enough. They're going to find their way. The band coaches are going to figure out how to do their thing. So maybe that's a little bit of control freak in me. I don't know. But yeah, I think that, again, that's all part of the balance. Rob, if people want to view your YouTube channel, if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you and check out your material and your content?
If you just Google Rob School of Music, it all pops up, but it's Instagram.com/Rob School of Music. Same thing for YouTube. The book, you can get a free digital copy of it at thisbookshreds.com. No, you don't have to put your credit card or anything else, literally free. I don't even think you have to put an email. I think you click a button. It's just take it and learn. And then my course is available at icanplayguitar.com.
Fantastic.
This is so great. It was really nice to meet you, Rob, and hear about what you're doing. It's really inspiring, actually.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. You guys are doing a great thing here. We need more of this out there.
Well, thank you. You too, Rob. Keep it up. I'm excited to see how everything continues to grow for your courses and your YouTube channel. And, we've talked before. We're kind of kindred spirits, like a lot of the same stuff. So thanks for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
A big thank you to Rob Spampinato of Rob School of Music for coming on the show. If you have something to add to the conversation, please send us an email at info@rockschoolproprietor.com. We'd love to hear from you and hear topic ideas for future shows. Show notes and transcripts are also available at rockschoolproprietor.com. I'm at rock.school.proprietor on Instagram and John Kozicki on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you there. And don't forget about our private Facebook group, Performance-Based Music Programs and Rock Schools. You can join us in that group and we can discuss all sorts of great topics related to leveling up music schools and programs. If you enjoyed the show and gained insight from our conversation, then we count that as a win. All we ask in return is that you pay it forward, and please share the show with someone you think needs to hear it.